I welcome us again to this path that we've chosen, and we are in for something important this evening. And the topic is protocol of engagement with spirit. It's going to be brief. I read from my Bible, the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourself servants obey, the servant ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. So this account that was captured in a verse is actually a complete book that Apostle Paul just find a way to make it short and brief as possible. So the way spirits engage humans, because human being will always be humans, and we cannot actually fit into the picture of what spirit being can do because of the limitations of being natural by descent, even from the seed of Adam. But this passage focus on obedience as a tool by which spirits engage humans, and by which human being can actually transcend and assume to function like spirit while on earth. So for anybody to be engaged under this protocol of engagement with spirits, the the first thing that will happen is a point of submission. So if a spirit want to engage a human being, he begin to school the person. He takes the person to a school that conform to the kind of atmosphere that the person want to be engaged in. For example, prostitution is a spirit. For someone possessed with the spirit of prostitution, it doesn't start a day and get to the peak. So probably starting from the person's early days, the devil begins to send and deploy his arsenals, starting from probably the way the person dress, composure, and every other things. So the spirits assigned for that work begin to school the person. When you go out, this is the kind of dress you should put on. This is the kind of way you should dress. This is the kind of comportment you should have among people. Then, in as much as the person complying to that rule and principles, you begin to see that the human being assume that posture and begins to manifest as though is the spirit behind the work of that entity. So, and it won't caught you by surprise to see that even if the person has a good character, you just see that he did not suddenly emerge. The person has been schooled by the rule of engagement. So it takes a heart that is submissive to the influence of a spirit to be engaged, because human being has choice, and God made it so beautiful that we are created with the power and ability to make choices over actions. So a man had to, at a point in his life, choose to obey and to be schooled by the influence of a particular spirit or whatever it is before he can act as a servant. And that was why Apostle Paul said that, know ye not that whom ye choose to obey. So it is not forcefully, it is as a result of choices that we make. And even when it comes to serving God and giving ourselves to God, salvation becomes the entrance gate. But when it talks about assessing the possibilities that it's the major focus of this channel that we are looking at, it had to depend on some certain rules of engagement. If you want to access power, if you want to access prosperity in God, there are some kingdom principles and values that a man must submit to. So you can be a Christian without subscribing to the values and principles that give kingdom wealth. You are not going to be prosperous if it is God that will do it, because we've not subscribed to it. So obedience becomes the entrance at a means of spiritual engagements. So for a man to be engaged or to be tutored by the influence of spirit, so submission and obedience becomes an entrance gate. So if you want to learn something about God, then the particular dealings you want to take you through, you must be ready to submit and to duly follow the guidelines and protocols that actually make it possible. So this evening I've come to address this topic because this is what God will have us to consider this evening. So if it is in your choice that you want to access this pathway to endless possibilities, then there are protocols, there are rules of engagement, and the way you can come into it, because nobody has a full package or a full syllabus of what is inside. So the only thing you need to come in is obedience and submission. So when you obey, you are going to be schooled by the spirit, because it is by the deployment of the arsenals of these things that communicate what we do per times and the way we assume this posture. So it is not given to any man. If we had the full syllabus, then a lot of people will have be able to access it. But it comes first by obedience and submission. And then after you come in, you begin to learn principles and values. And step by step, bit by bit, God begins to reveal it and make it open and explicit to the person. So it is God's appointment that we learn this evening, and I believe that is going to contribute and is going to help someone on how we see things in the spirit and how we can actually come to a point of this entrance gate towards the pathway we've chosen, and how we can access these endless possibilities that we have in the grace that saved men. God bless us.